back to the SA Sports Show. Greg, this is a great story. This is a terrific story that we're about to unleash.
Yeah, good friend of mine, Chris.
Yeah. Chris Blows, surfer, shark attack victim. I mean, we must point that out because he's in the studio with us. Chris, welcome, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Again to the SA Sports Show. We have spoken to you, or Greg.
Yeah, probably about 3 or 4 months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Greg was a little while ago.
Yeah.
And I mentioned at the opening there, you are a shark attack victim, but it's a great story to be where you are today. So can you take us back, mate? Take us back to the actual incident, where it all happened and whatever, and where it all started for you.
Yeah, so it was actually in Port Lincoln. I was living there at the time with my now wife, Chloe, and it was Anzac Day, it was back in 2015, and we just got up early for a dawn service and then decided to go out to a spot known as Fishery Bay, which is like the closest surf spot to Port Lincoln. It's about a 30-minute drive. And yeah, been surfing right point for probably an hour and a half, I reckon, and I just got a wave and I was coming back out to a spot known as a suck rock, which is where you take off. Yeah. I mean, probably only, waist deep of water, I reckon, and then I got hit from the side, which felt like being hit by a truck, and soon realised I was being attacked by a 4.5 metre white shark. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Rushed to hospital, obviously. Lost a lot of blood. You know, there was, I suppose. I mean, I've read your book, and you know, like you're actually reading it, and you're sort of thinking, is this fiction or non-fiction? This can't really happen. I mean, the blood that was required to keep you alive, and then obviously flown into Adelaide.
Like I said, I got bitten twice. I got bitten on my hip at first, the underside of my board protected me a little bit the first time, and then the second time I was off my board and it pulled me underwater and ripped my left leg off above the knee. So I lost lots of blood very quickly. And by the time I got to shore, the lads, one of the surfers that was literally surfing past me as I was attacked, he got the leg rope off his board and he tied that around my stump while I was at the water's edge. And you know, if that went on a minute, 2 minutes later, I would have bled to death. But the only issue I was at the bottom of a cliff, and I was 35 kilometres from the nearest hospital and like 600 kilometres from the nearest trauma centre in Adelaide. And but they managed to get me on a board and stretch me across the rocks up the flight of stairs, which is unlikely at a lot of surf spots on the Eyre Peninsula. So I was lucky that there was even a flight of stairs to get up. And then they got me in the back of my mate Nick's Land Cruiser, and we started our scramble for hospital. And by the time the ambulance got there, you know, I was, my heart had completely stopped, and they had to administer CPR straight away. So that CPR started. To give you an idea, that CPR started at 10 a.m. and didn't stop till 11:15. So
wow.
And then in that hour, I had 8 units of blood and 12 units of plasma. So. To put that into context a little bit, I think the average human body has like 9 units of blood in it or something like that. So, you know, I was going through a lot. I just kept losing it. I think,
Wow.
So,
mate, you mentioned the guy that tied his surfboard rope, leg rope.
Yep.
Was he a friend? Else?
So my 2 good mates, Nick and Brock, they actually come back out to help me. That's the only way I got in, you know. Okay. They were up there amongst it, and literally I went to, but the second time they come back at me was when I was about to grab Nick's hand, because, you know, I was trying to get away from it, and the boys just felt this surge of water and pulled me underwater for the second time. But, and then after I popped up, you know, the only reason I got away from it was because I had my left leg, I could rip my actual left leg off above the knee. So, the pool was just bobbing around. It's like a fishing float. It had my leg with a leg rope, so it was just sort of bobbing around, and I managed to climb onto Nick's back, and we kind of got hit by a wave, and that separated us a little bit. And then, they managed to get me in somehow, and they did an amazing job. Like, I was very lucky. There was probably 10 to 15 surfers there that day as well. So
they help you carry.
They would put me on a board and stretch me up the cliff, which is can be hard to walk across those rocks on that point at the best of times. Like, they're normally really slippery because the water's breaking over them, and but. Still here to tell the tale.
The interesting thing of the book, the actual ambulance driver was a surfer himself, so he actually knew where to head to, because you have so many different surfing spots in Portland.
There is, and he was a surfer himself, and there was actually 3 paramedics. So 2, one was able to drive, which is Ben, the ambulance, and he's like a local guy, and then 2 were able to do unrestrained CPR in the back of the ambulance. Like, that never happened. So. You know, and in that time they don't carry blood on ambulances, so they were able to get so what they did is get just an IV drip into me, and they kept any little bit of blood I had in my body circulating around. I think just little things like that played a vital role in keeping me alive, really, because I wouldn't have had much blood left in me by the time I got to the ambulance.
Yeah. And now back surfing, which is fantastic. But not just enjoying your surfing, you're doing competitive surfing. Even though you went over to the US and had done the US adaptive surfing titles, where you got third place for Australia. I mean, that is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I won the Australian title last year, and then got to compete in the World Adaptive Surfing title like late last year in December. Didn't get the result I really wanted there.
Yeah.
So come home and just kept surfing a bit more and getting, because I've only been back surfing for 4 or 5 years or whatever, and still getting better at it, still getting used to it. And then I went back over for the US Adaptive Surfing titles and came third, but. Yeah, be happy with the result, but yeah.
You felt you could have done a bit better, like
it's hard.
Judge, you're a bit hard being Australian.
Yeah, I think it's just the hardest thing is getting like you can go through a heat and not like it's all about wave selection as well. Like if I didn't get the right waves and stuff like that, so I found that when I went over for the world titles, my heats were at really bad times and the tide was too low or it was windy in the afternoon. So I've got a much better result this time, and hopefully I can go again next year and do even better. So,
Chris, I have to ask you, mate, how tough was it to get back in the water? I mean, mentally, this has got to be amazing.
Yeah, it was really hard at the start, but literally, I found when I first getting out in the water, I find that it's something that reminded me of the day. I'd become real like hypersensitive to all movements and stuff like that, and I'd find myself getting really dizzy and almost having like a panic attack in the water.
Okay. Yeah.
But literally just by putting myself in that situation and like facing my fear head on and slowly exposing myself to it, I've become used to it. So I literally just had to do it,
How tough is that?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's really tough. Were family negative about it? Was it negative?
No, not at all. Like Chloe said, when I lost surfing, she lost a part of me. Like when I lost surfing, I lost a part of me. So for me to get back into surfing, she was stoked, and I surfed 3-4 times a week when I was living on the Eyre Peninsula. So I was obsessed with it. I was constantly checking my phone, looking at swell, wind, stuff like that. So
where it's all happening.
I was always on the hunt for a wave, and now I've got that. It took me a little while to get back into it, and I don't tend to put myself I'd never surf spots like Fishery Bay again. Just little things like there's a massive seal colony just around the corner from where I was attacked. There was the day I was attacked, there was big schools of salmon coming through the lineup and just stuff like that. So when I go surfing now, I try not to.
You check a bit of that, right?
Assess the situation a bit more. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
Well,
fantastic.
it is. But you're on the board out there now, and so you have no fear at all. Now, when you're out surfing...
I do. It's in the back of my mind, but not like I first did at the start, where I'd becoming almost have it's just almost like a panic attack in the water. But now I'm okay. I'm all right in the water. Yeah. But I'll tend to, when I surf back on the Eyre Peninsula, I'll keep the surfs a bit shorter and stuff like that.
So how long was your stay, mate, in hospital? How long were you...
8 weeks. The first 4 absolute hell. The first 10 were induced coma, and then because I had complete renal failure because I had so much CPR and blood loss, my liver shut down, my kidney shut down, so I was on a dialysis machine for quite a while. Because my kidneys and liver weren't working for themselves. So I was very, very sick and at the start, and and then what the issue was is. I never had any pain when I was attacked by a shark. Your body goes into fight or flight and shuts all that thing down. Shuts all that stuff down. But when I woke up 10 days later from a coma and I realised what had happened, that's when all the pain started. But the issue was I was on this dialysis machine that was flushing all the drugs and toxins and stuff out of my body. So then I'd have that night I'd have 10, 12 hours of 10 out of 10 pain, and they'd pump me with pain medication again, but then they'd have to flush it all out again. So it was just a vicious cycle. So the first 3 to 4 weeks were hell. So
you've released a book.
Yep.
Called
Caught Inside. Caught Inside,
Okay.
yeah. It's co-authored with myself and the doctor who saved my life that day.
Yeah.
And you can purchase it on my website, chrisblows.com.au, or Dylan's bookshop at Norwood. So, yeah.
And
That's
Barry,
a
I
fascinating
love
story.
reading. I read lots of all different authors.
Yeah.
This is one of the best reads. It's just it's so amazing. And then, then the next step of your life, you've gone back in the water, but not just that, you're representing Australia.
Exactly.
Yep.
How long did that take to actually feel comfortable back on a board and the way of surfing and saying, well, you know what, I'm good enough now. I'm good enough to surf for Australia.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had all that doubt slip my mind that I
Yeah.
wasn't going to be good enough to do it, and it's almost like an inner critic, I suppose, something that we all have, and I just had to learn to push that aside, and just give it a go.
Yeah.
And it's funny, the amount of like personal growth I've had since my attack. I wouldn't say being attacked by sharks is the best thing that happened to me, but it certainly made me grow as a person, and I've definitely had a lot of good things that have come out of my attack. So, and getting up and speaking in front of people, like doing corporate speaking, which I do now. Getting up in front of 400 or 500 people. If you knew me 10 years ago, there's no way that I would have done that. But
And representing Australia's not bad either.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, mate, one more plug for your book there, Caught Inside.
Yeah, Caught Inside, yeah.
And we can get it on your website?
On the website, chrisblows.com.au, or you can, Dylan's bookshop in Norwood has it, so yeah.
Mate, it's a fabulous story. Congratulations on all you've done since that, because, mate, me, no. Me, no. That's all I can say to that. It's very courageous, mate.
Yeah.
And congratulations on what you've done for Australia as well. I think that's a fascinating story.
Brilliant.
Get hold of the book, Caught Inside by Chris Blows, a shark attack victim, one of the bravest men I think I've met right now. Thanks for coming in, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.
We'll come back with more in just a moment.